Hello everybody. In this video we are continuing our previous discussion of camera repairs and specifically parts or lack thereof when it comes to repairing certain models and brands. So today we're going to talk about a Canon brand and several models that I want to touch base on. So right now I have a Canon A1 program on my bench, and let's go ahead and talk about some of the possible parts replacements that you may encounter needing for this particular model. All right, so let's go ahead and kickstart with the most obvious part that most of these cameras do need, and that's a battery door. As an example here, this battery door is broken. Okay, it's a very common occurrence, and it's a plagued component on Canon A1 program. The same exact door is on A1 and AE-1. So first things first, we do have replacement batteries. They are not original Canon. They're aftermarket, but they're perfectly fitted for this particular model and brand. Okay, so if your camera requires a replacement battery door, we have them in stock. All right, so what else goes bad on a camera requiring replacement parts? A common issue is missing or broken rewind knob. Okay, so if your camera requires that, we do have it in stock. We can replace them. They're not always original Canon part, but that will, it's going to be a replacement module that will fit this model perfectly. Okay. Let me go ahead and open the bottom cover, so I'll show you two of the most commonly addressed issues here. Okay, so we have bottom cover exposed, and two parts that we do repair or replace on a regular basis are a release magnet here and then a shutter magnet. So if your camera releases but doesn't hold shutter speeds, the chances are that this might be your problem. That's a shutter speed magnet. We have a replacement here, and we have plenty of them in stock, so that we can repair or replace really depends on the problem. Okay, if it's beyond repair, sometimes these wires could be corroded, just need to be retouched. It fixes the problem, or it may just needs to be anchored, or the magnet may need to be cleaned. That could rectify, but in some cases it's a coil and it just gets damaged or wears out after a while. Now keep in mind, these are older cameras. Some of them are 50 years old, 40 years old, so that's some age. Okay, the same goes for a release magnet. If your camera simply doesn't release, or when you push the release button, and the light just goes away, it's a high probability that the release magnet is defective and needs to be replaced, and we do have those in stock as well. Okay, so you should be able to have your camera taken care of. Okay, what else can we talk about this? Quite a few times you'll notice that the viewfinder glass will be cracked or damaged. We have them in stock. They're not new. They're taken from older scrap cameras, but we can replace them for you. So that'll do that for the viewfinder. And also another commonly replaceable item is the focusing screen. Okay, it's easily removable here from Canon A1 program. So if it's damaged or scratched, we have replacements, and we can go ahead and take care of that problem. This camera also requires, in some cases, replacement of winding mechanism components, separate gears or shafts. We have plenty of those available, so but that's not really an obvious item for a user or an owner to note and say, listen, it just simply doesn't release. So they don't know exactly whether the part is required to be replaced or repaired. So yes, we have pretty much 90% of the parts available for this camera. Okay. That also covers the external components such as top covers. We do have quite a few top covers, so if your cover is in bad shape, damaged, dented, dinged, we can replace it with a better one. It's not going to be brand new, but it's going to be a better one than what you had before. All right, so that's our Canon A1 program. So I'm going to go ahead and put it aside, and we'll get another one. So this is probably my favorite Canon camera. It's a little dusty here, but that'll do for demonstration purposes. That's A1. So what goes bad with this camera that requires replacement parts? The same thing that we've discussed previously. Release magnet, shutter magnet, exactly the same, and they can fail exactly the same way on A1 as it does on AE1 program. So if your camera doesn't release, okay, at all, that could be an issue, okay? Not always 100% the only possible scenario, but we've replaced quite a few release magnets as well as shutters too. If your shutter is not holding speeds, there's a possibility that shutter magnet is at fault. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the top portion of our camera here. A lot of times we have to replace ASA dials as a dial and as an assembly, okay? So if your ASA dial is not rotating, let's say right now I'll push it, and as you can see it rotates fine, okay? But let's say it doesn't, and it could be due to the impact or just internal damage. We have plenty of them in stock. We can take care of that too. Rewind knobs, we do have them in stock for this model. And another common problem that you may see actually on both Canon A1 program and A1 is a damaged rewind fork. Okay, you see there's two notches here, and sometimes when it's roughly pulled or mishandled, you may bend or damage one of these metal notches here, and that will basically require replacement of this fork. We have them, we have plenty of them in stock, so we can take care of them. And then a big one here, and for whatever reason it happens more on Canon A1 model than any other Canons, and that's broken rewind sprocket. As you see here, this is a good example how this broken rewind sprocket looks. Okay, it happens a lot less on A1 and A1 program, but for some reason we've encountered majority of these replacement parts specifically on A1. All right, so this is your broken one, and this is one in good condition here. So we have plenty of these sprockets in stock, and we can take care of that for you. All right. Another thing that we do notice missing quite a lot is winding lever screw. For some reason gets lost or gets damaged. We have them in stock. Obviously the battery door, same story with all Canon that shares the same design battery door. We have them, plenty of them in stock. A few times you'll see that this particular assembly might be bent or even missing, we have them too. So for the majority of parts that it may ever require, we do have them, aside from main circuit board. Main circuit board is a relatively common problem with A1. It's a lot more sophisticated camera than AE-1 or A1 program, a lot more dependent on the circuitry. And likelihood of needing a main circuit board in this camera is much higher than, say, in any other Canon model. So if that is the case, nothing we can do about it. There's absolutely nothing we can do to replace it with, aside of, you know, just taking it out of the a good working Canon A1, which doesn't always happen because it's not likely that we will have a good Canon A1 with a good board. In most cases, we have junk cameras with other components, but A1s are not really known for boards going bad, but the likelihood of this model having that is much higher than any other Canon. But in any case, if any one of your Canon cameras require the replacement of main circuit board, unfortunately, we will have to deem it unrepairable. All right, so and that's about all I wanted to talk about this particular model. If you have any other comments about this particular model or any other model that we talked about so far, feel free to post them or ask any questions. So let's move on to the next one. And that is a Canon AE-1. All right. As you see here, as another common one is a battery door, obviously. It's same design as any other Canon that we've talked about so far. A big item that we do replace on this particular camera is shutter and ASA speed dial. I can tell you I've replaced probably about at least 100 of them. At least 100 of these dials. Reason is because the design of this dial is such that if the camera is slightly mishandled or it's been exposed to sand damage, or you spill a little pop here, there are like little screws and components underneath that can get stuck and basically will prevent either rotation between shutter speeds or selection of the ASA value freely. Okay, so that could become an issue. So keep that in mind, but we do have replacement parts, plenty of it in stock. Rewind knob a lot of times is missing, so we have that too. Again, going back to what we've talked about previously, these two components, release magnet, shutter magnet, same design as previously on the previous cameras. We have them in stock. Likelihood of them being damaged is about the same. Another thing that commonly is addressed with this camera is an ASA dial assembly. Okay, so there's basically an ASA dial, okay, right here going from this side with a tungsten wire connecting it to this side. And as it being a wire, it's a metal tungsten wire. It could snap, break, get damaged, and therefore you don't have two things. Your shutter speeds will be off and your light meter readings will be non-existent if that happens. So you will be able to rotate it, but your light meter will be stuck up or down, most likely going to be stuck down. So we do have those assemblies in stock. So if that is the problem, we should be able to help you with that issue and replace it. I think besides what we've covered before, that's about the only things that I wanted to discuss with this camera. Nothing else that comes to mind right now, aside from, obviously, I'm not even talking about the external components, top covers, front covers. If that gets damaged, we have them in stock. Prisms do not go bad on these cameras, none of the ones that we've talked about before. They're pretty sound. There's no light seals around them that could damage the coating, so they're pretty well designed. Quite a few times I've seen that this customer try to clean the surface of this screen. It gets damaged. You know, they clean it with a solvent, acetone, or a pure alcohol that could damage the surface of it. And obviously, when you look through the viewfinder, you see those nasty spots. We can replace those components. We have the focusing screen in stock, so if that is the case, we'll take care of that for you. That's not a problem. So again, if you have any other concerns or want to add some extra comments to what you've seen before with these cameras, I'll be happy to make a note of that. But again, a film sprocket is another thing that can go bad with it, just like with any other Canon camera, though I don't see a lot of them on this model and the program, and mostly on Canon A1. All right, that's about it for a Canon A1. And lastly, I wanted to quickly discuss FT series, and I've got an older FTb here. So this camera is a solid camera, similar to SRT, if you will. Few things that you may see missing on these cameras are battery door. We have a couple of in stock. Okay, not a lot, but we don't get a lot of these cameras for repair. So if you have a camera that requires battery door, let us know, and we'll do a research at that time and see if we have them available. I'll be happy to install them or install them for you. One thing that you'll notice also quite a bit of time, for some reason, this dial might be missing. The actual shutter speed dial will be there, but the top portion of it will be detached, like so. I'm going to go ahead and give you an example of another camera that it has a missing scale part of the dial. Okay, we have them in stock. They're not new, but they're taken from older cameras. We can install one for you. Self-timer lever or components, we have a few in stock we can install. And then winding arm, okay, winding lever, as well as the screw and the rewind knob. We do have a few in stock that we can accommodate, but again, it's not a very commonly addressable issue. Besides that, I don't think there is really anything else that goes missing part-wise or requiring replacement part for this camera. Again, if for whatever reason, if it needs replacement light meter, which is not a common occurrence, but you will see that light meter problems are fairly common with this model, okay? Especially if it's jumpy or just not responding. It's not always because of the light meter. In most cases, I'd say about 90% of the cases, it's things around the light meter, such as lack of power, the sensors, or the contacts, the power contacts on top here need to be cleaned or addressed by, replacing them. So chances are, if you have a bad light meter, or non-responsive light meter, let me rephrase, it's not because of the light meter itself. So we might be able to fix it successfully without needing to replace a light meter, which is not available. So if it does require a light meter, in actuality, we won't be able to do much about it. All right, so that'll do it for us for our Canon brand here. If you have any special requests or questions, feel free to reach out to me. Other than that, I thank you for watching. Have a good one.